been some pretty good news on Jackie. Could you elaborate on it?
Well, we had him on the field today for our workout. That was great to see. He was running balls down in center field like he hadn't missed a beat. But he's not ready to swing the bat yet. He went through some drills, bunting drills and some things, but the next 2, 3, 4 days will gradually get him in a position to swing the bat. So still a long way to go, but it's only, I guess, Tuesday, so a decision really hasn't been made as to whether or not he'll be on the active roster.
But you weren't thinking about even using the word bat at this point with him, were you? I mean, did you think he would be at this point by this date?
Well, I tried not to think about this date and Jackie coming back. I didn't want to, people kept saying Super Regionals, World Series, you might get him back, and we all know that you don't necessarily get to play in the Super Regionals or the World Series, so I tried not to think like that. But I thought he'd be close by now, and he is close. And today when he was doing his drills, I asked him, do you feel like you can swing? And he said, yes, I do. I feel like I can. Now, he's being held back, by the trainers and the doctors right now to gradually get to that point. But he's doing some simulated swings today, and then we'll advance a little bit in the next few days.
Right, but even if he felt physically capable and was cleared by doctors in terms of stepping into a World Series game and facing live pitching, we saw some of the rust Adam Matthews had when he was trying to come back. I mean, could you contemplate running him out there without knowing how well he'd be able to step in there and hit?
No,
your other guys are playing pretty well.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I wouldn't play him because, he knows how to run from first to third. He knows how to score on a ball in the alley, and he knows how to catch one. So, could you see him in a game possibly? Yes. In a starting situation, probably not.
I'm going to ask about Chad. He's off interviewing today. What's your take on that? Are you okay with Tennessee asking to interview him when you're getting ready to play your biggest games of the year, and with him going off? What's the situation there?
Well, obviously you would hope that the timing would be better. That being said, Chad Holbrook is a professional. He's also a dear friend of mine, and I support him regardless of the situation and whatever turns out, and he knows that. So it is what it is, and we'll deal with it. And I've said before, he's a guy that if I was an athletic director somewhere and I had an opportunity to hire him, I would do my very best to hire him. We're also going to do our very best to keep him here, and that's been expressed by everybody involved. So we'll just have to see what transpires in the next few days.
Would that include maybe perhaps a bump in pay or something else along those lines?
If I was able to make that decision, yes, but I don't make those decisions.
Is that something that might get before the board, before the summer's out? If he
well,
doesn't
you're
go,
way ahead of me. I don't know. Would I recommend it? Yeah, of course I would.
Yeah.
But I'm all about Chad Holbrook. But, Eric Hyman and even Dr. Prestige has certainly, expressed to Coach Holbrook that, we are very fond of what you do here and who you are. We'd love to see you stay. The University of Tennessee is a major program in all sports. It's an SEC coaching job. Could you blame him if he got an opportunity? We would all hate to see him go, but it's not a situation that you feel like it's a lateral move or not a good job. So, if that was to work out, we'd be tremendously supportive. That being said, I hope it doesn't work out.
Ray, you talked about two guys who weren't with you last year in Omaha. Adam Westmoreland, who's obviously hurt, and Jerry Myers, who's in another job.
Well, it's nice to have Adam back with us again. He had a lot of opportunities early in the year, and hasn't pitched much lately. But just an opportunity like this, if he gets a chance to pitch in the World Series, great. But if he doesn't, he will have been a part of this, and he's got some years left here. And it's a great experience to get him back into a situation where he has this valuable experience. As for Coach Myers, I think it's probably been understated a little bit, the job he's done this year. Coming back into our program, taking over a pitching staff that really didn't have any starters back and had a great bullpen coming back. But he had to go through, he's new. I mean, he didn't coach these guys, although it was here, it's my first 6 years, I guess. He's done a tremendous job. It's almost like we didn't miss a beat. And there's a transition. Coach Calvi had done a wonderful job with our pitching staff. And then Coach Myers comes in, and it's been really smooth. Those guys have embraced him. He embraced them. And our pitching staff has been outstanding. It is one of the main reasons that we are continuing to play right now.
You were saying a couple of days ago that you had to get guys to play different roles on this team. What is it that you do to motivate a guy that doesn't maybe have the talent of a Jackie Bradley Jr. to go out there and act like it?
I can't take credit for any of it, and I can't tell you there's any magic formula for me or any necessary motivation. It's just a situation that you're trying to win. And if you're wearing a uniform and you have some confidence in yourself, you go play and you try to find a way to produce and perform. And I believe in that. I've always said that early in the year when you put your lineup out there, that's great. But I like to see other guys go in, not necessarily because of an injury, but I like to get other guys in there so by the end of the year we're better than we were when we started. We've got better players that have experience. So, Evan Marzilli did that last year when Jackie was hurt early. And by the end of the year, he was a pretty good player for us. And I think that that's sort of understood in our program that although guys maybe didn't get the reps or have the time or experience on the field, when they get an opportunity to go in there, they're not lacking confidence. They're not lacking belief in themselves that they can perform. They may be lacking innings or at-bats or time on the field, but I think there's a belief system that I can contribute. I'm a good player, and I'm in this program, and if I get an opportunity, I'm going to try to do the best I can to keep us in a good position to win. And I said the other night, those guys I give a tremendous amount of credit. Robert Barrett, Stephen Neff, Jake Williams, Evan Marzilli, and other guys that we were going to count on them, but they've had to play bigger roles than maybe we started out with.
Coach, what kind of feedback have you gotten since you guys clinched the other day? And is it what you expected from your players, anything like that?
Well, it's kind of been what I expected. It's been very difficult keeping up with phone calls and messages and media requests outside of Columbia. It's been really phenomenal at this point. We're doing our best to keep up with that. Andrew thinks that should be my major priority right now. But our fans, and we're going to get a send-off here when we leave on Thursday, and it's great. It's just a lot of passion, enthusiasm. I can't tell you how many people have contacted me outside of Columbia that saw the games on television. With the wow, what an atmosphere, what a situation to play in, and I call that your home venue. So it's been great. We're excited about it, and we're looking forward to going to Omaha, and hopefully we play well when we get there.
Coach, how would you describe the difference between the team you took to Omaha in 2010 and the team that you're going to be taking this week?
I think they're very similar teams. I mean, a lot of the guys are the same. Merrifield obviously with the big hit and the job Bobby Haney did for us. But we got, quite a few guys back. And obviously Blake, Sam, those guys are gone. But a lot of the same with our team, the cast of characters are going back. And, we were getting ready to practice today. And I was trying to get them in that serious mood to let's go. Let's have we're gonna have a short practice today, a little bit longer one tomorrow, but let's do a good job when we start practicing. Morales turns to me and he said, "Hey, last year we were just happy to be there. This year we're going there to win it." And I'm like, "What?" But that's just the way they are. He was trying to trip me up, and he did. So it's the same group, and we're going to just try to play well, play hard, and try to stay in position to win.
On the same lines of contributions that you were mentioning earlier, I think you had, a half dozen left-handed pitchers that you were looking at to start in the rotation, and then you wind up with 2 right-handers by the mid part of the year. How big was that to get those guys to kind of steady things when it wasn't looking so good?
It's huge. And again, I give credit to Coach Myers. His insight, his decisions, his presence with our pitchers, his knowledge of their bullpens and where they were. He made a lot of decisions along the way that I certainly supported, more because he made them, but he was convicted and confident about some of the things he told me. I sort of had the idea we were going to start this season with a left-handed pitching staff. And very few times, if you can start out all left-handed, is that bad? It usually works out pretty good for you. We had one team that went to Omaha with an entire rotation of lefties. That didn't necessarily materialize, but he saw Colby coming on. He saw that, and he felt Kumis was going to be a guy from the get-go. We just got to get him to have a little more poise and composure, which he ended up being much better toward the end. So I give Coach Myers a tremendous amount of credit for helping us get to where we are with our pitchers.
And specifically on Forrest, as a freshman, to do what he's done and how impressive is that?
We never really had any question on whether or not he was going to contribute. I mean, he was a guy that, state championship, probably didn't let him swing the bat enough. We were trying to be cautious there, and try to get him to emphasize what he was going to do on the mound. He may do that a little bit more next year, but we didn't have any question that he would be a contributor. How much and when and out of the bullpen as a starter, we weren't sure about, but he's been what we expected, maybe a little bit more for a true freshman, but he has matured a great deal over the course of the season, and certainly his next 2 years, I think he'll be a junior draft, but his next 2 years, I expect him to really make a big name for himself.
Ron? Can you kind of address the evolution of bullpens in college baseball? It seems like last year you were one of the first teams, or maybe we only saw it, where you started using situational pitchers, and then this year you've done pretty much the same thing.
I've thought about that. I know yet last year was when we took that formula and said this is what we're going to do, and this is the way we should attack it. I don't know if it started a couple of years earlier throughout the country, but it almost seems the case. There are a handful of teams around the country that have some complete games, but for the most part, college baseball is now like Major League Baseball. If you get 4 or 5 innings out of your starter, you feel pretty good. If you get 6 innings, it's like a plus start. And then you turn it over to the bullpen, and you go with your guys, or you mix and match until you get late, and it just seems to be what a lot of people are doing now.
And what caused that? Was it a conscientious effort in recruiting, or?
I think for us, it was a conscientious part on getting different looks for offensive guys against us, a different look, and getting more pitchers involved, less workload, more appearances, more players, more production. When you start using more guys, they're going to be better if you use them. And then you have more guys to choose from, more development. So if you can do it as you go along, you got more guys. Guys that really don't pitch, and we've got a few that haven't pitched. It's tough for them. But if you can continue to get them on the mound, even if it's for a short stint, like we've used a lot of those guys, they're pretty good. Mata hadn't pitched a whole lot lately. He goes in the other night in a big game, he does fine. Because he's been there numerous times. So I'm not sure why it all took place, but it seems to be, I like it. Now our recruiting efforts now are geared toward that. We're just not, take 6 great pitchers. No, we want to take guys that we feel like might be a guy we can use in the bullpen. We maybe pass on a starter if we feel like we can get an appearance guy. Now when we're recruiting, we'll say he's a John Taylor type. He's a Jose Mata type. When we're talking about appearances, or he's a left-handed matchup guy. He's a situational guy. We didn't have those kind of conversations 10 years ago. You get a good pitcher, you get him, and you try to find a role for him. Now you're sort of trying to recruit guys that you can define earlier than when they get in your program.
I'm going to take a couple more questions, guys. I want to start getting some players in here, Dave.
Ray, what's the status of Adam Matthews? Will he maybe break his way back to the starting lineup once you guys get there?
It's been Adam Matthews. Adam has been a very difficult one for me, especially like the other night when we had Napo on the mound. Adam just hasn't been out there much, and I've talked about his, hasn't had the reps, but he's healthy. He's ready to go. He's swinging the bat well, and that was honestly the most difficult time that I had before the second game against UConn was whether or not I was going to play Matthews. That's something I wrestled with all day, and in the end, I just stayed with the guys that had been playing the most. But he's ready, so that's you know, it's a situation that you know, you could see him in there. And I got him up twice in that game the other night in a pinch hitting situation and didn't use him, but I had him up twice.
You mentioned Colby. What did he do to show you all he was ready for a bigger role this season, and what is he showing you in the way he's kind of settled into that role?
Well, he got some opportunities as a freshman. Didn't finish his year like he wanted to. I think he's talented enough. The stuff is good enough. But he had to pitch with a little more poise and composure. And for me, his biggest outing was his relief appearance in Florida. When you're on the road in Gainesville and you play a key role in winning the rubber game, that was big for me. And you know, again, Coach Myers was ahead of me there. He was feeling good about where Colby was. Not necessarily ready to toss him into a starting rotation, but he was a guy that now was ready to help us. He could go out there and give us 3 or 4 quality innings, and he did that in Florida, and he worked his way into the rotation, and he's been pretty solid. I'll give you a great example the other day. He had some good innings. I guess it was the second after 2 were out. He gave up 4 pretty good swings, and they got a couple of runs there. No walks. His composure was good. There was not a lot of stress and anxiety involved in that. It was just baseball. They got some hits. So you didn't run and get it. You know, you as a coach, sometimes when that happens, the guy's done. But he's beyond that now. I mean, he can do some damage control because he's got enough maturity to do that, and stuff can get him out of trouble. So we like where he's at right now. He's done a good job.
Phil, and then Neil, and I'm just starting this player.
As you know, you've not won your first game at Omaha anytime you've gone out there. So the question is that anything that you think about, or do you just say, hey, it's just baseball, there's nothing you can do about it? I mean, you proved last year you can win the whole thing coming out of the losers bracket. Does it matter to you that much to win that first game? That's a stupid question. You see what I'm saying? I mean, does it?
You're just trying to remind me that we just can't win that first game.
I'm just saying, is it important to win that first game?
Well, you know, over the years we haven't won that game. It's been by design. We go out there. You know, I tried to forget about it, honestly, and when we qualified the other day, I'm going, well, that's something that we're not going to talk about, we're going to get by. But my coaches, they love to bring that up to me. They remind me like 6 times a day, you know, you've been in charge in that first game, and we're thinking about you not being in charge. And I go, yeah, but last year we scored. You know, the first 3 times, the guts. So, you know, now we scored last year. Lost a close game, might win it. We might get a chance this time. Who knows? It's been crazy. Of course, in what was it, 02? We get back to the final game after losing. Then last year we got back there. So, but I'd love to win that first game. I'd really love to win it. And you know, I know we're playing a great club in A&M. There's only 8 teams left. So, but I'd like to. I'd like to get off of that snide. That would be a good one to get off of. That being said, if you told me we were going to win a bunch after we lost, I'd probably take the loss and win a bunch. But I'd like to try to get this one.
Yeah, last one.
You talked about a bunch of guys who've stepped up, but Robert Berry in particular, you know, he had all the injuries in the outfield. He goes in the outfield and does a really nice job. And then, you know, Brady gets dinged up behind the plate, and he not only goes back to it, but he plays pretty well. He receives the ball well. He's been throwing the ball well. I mean, that's hard to do. And what's he meant to this?
It's impossible, and you know, just like the Major League Draft, he got bypassed, and I'm like, how? How can you bypass Robert Berry? I mean, I'm not saying he should have been a first rounder, but you got 50 rounds and he doesn't get drafted. That makes no sense to me. He's a guy that, you know, has he been an All-American? No, he hasn't. But if you're putting a team together, don't you need a Robert Berry on that team? Regardless of what level you're playing at, you need a guy like him on your team. Many times I see him, he gets here early a lot when we play during the season, and I'll see him before a pregame meal or down in the hall or by the training room, and he'll say, what do you got for me today? And you know, sometimes I go, you're in the outfield, you're DHing, you're catching, you know, it's whatever. I mean, it doesn't make any difference. How many guys can do that? I mean, there's only a handful of people, even in Major League Baseball, that can do that. I mean, the value that he brings to our program is tremendous, and he's one of those guys that have enabled us to be where we are today. He's not only accepted the role that he has, but he excels in it. I mean, we didn't miss a beat. We haven't missed a beat. You know, when he goes left, right, he played third on occasion. we haven't missed a beat. Connecticut, 127 bags, 2 games. I don't think they had one, if I'm not mistaken. So, tremendous player for us.
Just discussed a little bit behind the plate too, in terms of handling the pitching staff and.
Well, that's hard.
That is hard.
That is very, very hard, and I tried not to make mention of this, but the other night, Michael Roth was on the mound, and Barry caught him. First time this season. Roth's been pretty good. He's had his own catcher, and now we're playing our biggest game of the year, and he doesn't have his own catcher back there. He's got a different guy, so that concerned me. But our guys know that Barry will do a good job for us back there. He